Welcome, everybody, to Said Differently. My name is Jennifer Sikora. I'm your host. The show is brought to you by Troupe, and it is the place where we bring together people for stories about storytelling, specifically B2B storytelling, going to market with your message. We're trading some war stories, haha, stories. All right, so today's guest, well, first, today's topic, everyone can relate, product launches. We all have something to say when we launch something. So, are we saying it right? Are we saying it well? And the guest I have today is Maureen West, who is currently head of marketing over at Brilliant. Maureen has a great long background, lots of companies that I know. Exact Target, Angie's List, Sixth Sense, many more. I think I still have an old Exact Target like ball cap sitting somewhere.
Oh, classic. Love it.
But why don't you introduce yourself a little bit more? You could do it better than I can.
Sure. Currently, I'm VP of Marketing at Brilliant. We are a software company that assists utilities in marketing to their customers. I have over 15 years in B2B SaaS experience background. Most of that is in product marketing. I love product marketing. I started at Brilliant as their director of product marketing and then had the opportunity to expand my skill set, which my background has served well. So I'm very excited about that. I've worked at startups, I've worked at mega corporations, VC, PE, public, you name it. I've done it all. And it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the product marketing side of things too, but your scope certainly well outclasses the scope and range in which my gigs have encompassed. And you would teach a class for the CMO school too, right?
Yes, I teach a class at Pavilion CMO School, and I think I'm now on my fifth. I do it once a quarter, and I think I'm on my fifth class, and I really enjoy it because I get to share what I think, product marketers need to do today, which is have a seat at the executive table and really shape the strategy for growth.
Awesome. Well, I know I'm going to love this conversation about product launches with you, Maureen, because you and I have spoken a few times prior, even outside of planning for this segment. And you do not mince words. I like that you really, say what you mean and mean what you say. So I'm really excited for this. So product launches, I feel like, I don't know about you, but I go on LinkedIn. Is it like product launch season or something? Maybe that's deliberate this time of year because end of fiscal's
End of
coming
year,
up. We're
right?
trying to
Yeah.
get new customers to be or on board. We're trying to retain. Do you get that sense too, that it feels like everyone's launching something right now?
Everybody wants a piece of the pie, and it feels like now is the season to do it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we're recording this in October, by the way. So anyone who
Mhm.
does it later, that's the context. But there are different types of launches, right? There are like major product launches. We are releasing a brand new product to the market. This is
Yeah.
significant. This is substantial. Or we have an existing product. We're releasing some major new features. And then it
Hmm.
kind of goes down from there. You can have
Hmm.
smaller scale launches too that don't create as much noise. How would you characterize this range and how should people plan accordingly?
Yeah, I think it is really important to categorize or classify your launch activity so that your organization knows how they should interact and respond.
Yeah.
Um, the hardest thing to do is a new product
Yeah.
because it might require different motions from nearly every part of your organization. This is especially true if you are bringing on or bringing to market a product that has a different pricing strategy
Yeah.
than your core product.
Opens a new
Um,
market, opens a
it
new
opens
buyer
an
persona, right?
That's right. I mean, these are all you're starting from ground zero, and you have to enable everyone in the organization on how to talk about it, how to manage it, how to invoice it, all of these things, right? Like it is really impacting your company when you do something like that. And it can be really good for your company because you get the expected growth that you want, or it could be a disaster and you could have a bad experience with customers because you forgot to be able to track it so that you can't invoice somebody and then send them a bill later and they're like, wait, this is not what I expected, or it's just out of sequence. So I think, One of the things that I always tell my organization is that when you have a launch, your goal should be to have zero customers calling your support line because you did something without telling them, right? Your launch should not be blowing up the support line
Yeah.
unless they're calling to say what a fabulous thing this is, which nobody ever
That's a
does
good
that.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and major launches don't happen that often, right? They're more milestone based, maybe once a year, depending,
Yeah. I mean, depending on your budget and
Mm,
depending on, who you are in the market, you could be pretty ambitious and do four a year.
yeah.
But that requires you to plan all of that out at the beginning of the year so that you understand the story that's going to unfold.
I love that.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, one of the things that I think is important for your company and to really see if you're effective is to make your any launch last at least one quarter. You need 90 days to really see how things are going. And then if you're going to have another launch right after that, well, that second launch better tie back to the first launch so that you're continuing the story and you're building on it.
That's an
So
excellent
that,
point. Yeah. I love one of the other situations I've been in is creating a launch moment, which is
Mhm.
okay, let's say you actually are with somebody, a company that maybe isn't innovating quite as rapidly on the product side. But they have, I had an example recently in recent
Mhm.
years where I was consulting for a company, but they actually had some pieces of some smaller features that they didn't think in and of themselves were
Yeah.
worthy of making a big story. But collectively, if you put these smaller
Yeah.
features together, you can actually create a bigger story around that. Can you talk about that a little bit too?
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do is to relaunch or to talk about things that are already in your product portfolio. People, leaders, I'm going to say leaders, CEOs think launches are for only new things. And I would
Yeah,
say, yeah, yeah, no, I disagree because, people inside the four walls of your company should understand all of the features and whatever. And they're probably sick to death of talking about features and products and whatever. Your customers don't have the insight or know your product as well as you do.
that's
They
true.
they
That's true.
probably haven't they probably haven't thought about putting these features together. So it's really up to the company to say, hey, this is a great story that we're telling here. And, now that we've released this one new feature, we've really tied together this string of four features to make a, knockout scenario for our customers. So don't be afraid to look back in your toolbox, in your feature toolbox or your product toolbox for stories to tell.
I
As
think that's
long as it's,
really great because the context can also change too, right? Things
oh,
in the
absolutely.
market can actually put some of those features that you've had on the truck for a while can actually kind of put a spotlight on them now because now something external has changed and now those
That's
can
right.
take center stage in a launch. So
Well, so you now bring up a very good point. What's happening in the market should also inform how you are positioning or what you should put into your launch. So if you have something in your portfolio that directly addresses a market situation, you should be talking about it immediately.
totally. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions for you. Hopefully, we'll get through them. Um, when you talk about these, getting that story pulled together, who
Yeah,
do you want at the table with you as a product marketer, marketing leader, whichever hat you're wearing
yeah.
both at times. Who do you want with you? Who's critical to helping put that story together? Clearly, product. Um,
Clearly product. Yeah. So typically I will have product, a copywriter.
mhm.
You must have a copywriter.
Not just
Um,
AI.
Not just AI. You must have a real life person copywriter. And one with a sense of humor is even better. Um, I want a salesperson and I want customer success at the table. And the reason that they're there is to, you need to tell the story to them. You need to talk about the story and tell the story. And if they agree with it, if they like it, then you know you're onto something. One of my the first things I look at when I do a launch is, does the sales team agree with the message? Are they going to say it?
So
Because
important.
if they don't like it,
Yeah.
you are sunk in the water. You should just stop what you're doing, go back to the beginning and start over. If
Yeah.
sales doesn't want to say it, you're dead.
Failure to launch, said differently. That's what you would call
That's
that.
right.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even worse, you could launch, but it just goes over like a lead balloon. And then
Um,
you've product credibility goes out the window. Your credibility as a product marketer goes out the window. You've wasted
ROI, all the
so much
money,
time.
the
Yes,
money.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
all these things.
So, what are you looking for then to getting the message right in terms of what you look at and of those early signals of is it landing? What are
Yeah,
the things you're looking for in your role, Maureen, that say it's working, right? Now, obviously things have to progress through a cycle, so it's not like you're going to come out of the gate and win closed deals in the first week.
that's right.
You might,
That's
that'd
right.
be awesome.
I mean, that
It
would
might
be
get a
awesome.
few over the finish line that are later in the
Yeah.
cycle, but what are you looking for?
Yeah, I'm really looking for one, do I like it? Do I feel confident about the product? Do I feel confident about the story I'm telling? Because my gut is has served me well for my career, and if there's something off about it, I will say I'm not sure this is right. There has to be a different angle here, and I
There's an
think we need to explore.
instinctualness too for
Yeah,
you, and you feel it in your
yeah,
bones. Okay. Yep.
yeah. And this is because I know the product.
Hmm.
I know the audience. I know who's going to buy it. I know who's going to use it. Those two might be different. Um, I know our sellers, and I think about customer success. How are they going to bring this story to customers to, create expansion, right? Or to solve a problem that they have for customers? So as I'm thinking about, how do I feel about this? How is sales going to look at this? These are the things that I'm thinking about for getting the messaging right. But getting the messaging right means you have to have a, a brand awareness or a point of view for your brand. Your brand should be saying something. It should stand for something. You should have a story about your brand,
Yeah.
and then the product story fits underneath that, right? Because those two things have to mesh.
Sure.
And
Sure.
then you have to think about, if I go back and launch this again or use this, so you now have to think about the future. If I want to use this again, is this going to fit in the portfolio? How does this add to the portfolio, and can I build on top of it? So I think about these things all at the same time, which is fun, but mostly it's about using the language that your customers are using about their work, because a launch is not so much about your product, it's about connecting with your customers and helping them understand in their terms how their work is going to change for the better. And
Yeah,
I think it really gets lost in a lot of messaging today.
that is really, really well spoken. I think, yeah, speaking their language, but really kind of relating to what affects them even on a human level, right? Like
Hmm.
being humanistic about this, like
Yeah.
we're not machines selling to machines yet. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
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 Yeah. Let's
I
hope we don't
know.
get there.
Yeah, yeah, right. Give it a few years. In one of the like for me, some of the things I tend to get really specific. I'm a data nerd, so I always have
Hmm.
been. Um, there's some typical sort of, I call them vanity metrics, although by saying that, I don't want to throw them out because I do think they are
Yeah.
important metrics. But how are
Hmm.
people engaging with the different vehicles that are delivering your launch story, right? Whether
Oh,
you're
yeah, for sure.
generating content or videos or demo video tours, things like that, you're looking at engagement, you're looking at open rates, whatever, are people talking, share of voice type of stuff. Um, Growth in traffic. But for me, like, and certainly in Troupe, we do this. We're also looking at, is it moving the needle on conversions at the very top of the funnel? I'm looking at
Yeah.
it fairly early. I want to know, don't just give me how many opens or likes or whatever we got. That's great. That's fine. But I want to
Hmm.
know the before and the after.
Yeah.
What did it look like? Like, has it? has it increased our conversion rates or has it stalled them or even worse, hurt them, which wouldn't be
That's
great.
right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, when I'm thinking about, external metrics for my launch, I always put metrics on a launch because how do you know what is working or not working if you don't put anything on them? And if you don't know what metrics to put on a launch, that's okay. You should just agree with everybody that these are the metrics you're going to track and then have a way to track them, and then agree about the definition, right? So there's no back and forth on this. But to your point, like the first 10 days, you're really going to be able to understand how, that is it resonating? What is the engagement on social? What is the buzz internally? What are people saying? What are your customers saying to the CSMs? How much traction are you getting along the channels that you've been promoting? Absolutely.
Sure.
Um, that's early, but you've already got the message out in the market. Like the horse left the barn and you can't pull it back.
At least from a
So
marketing standpoint, but like you said, maybe not always on the sales side. You got to track that, but we'll put a pin on it.
yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
true. That's true. And so, I want to make sure, a really early signal that I use is I build a deck and I share that deck internally with salespeople and say, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to go to market. And I
yeah,
talk about the launch, the story behind the messaging, who we're targeting. Like I bring a brief to life and share that with sales leaders so that they're on board. If sales leaders aren't on board, this is your litmus test. If the sales leaders aren't on board, then you have to go uh, back to the drawing board. If they are on board, they're already thinking about how can they help their sellers pick this up really quickly and start selling or gaining some traction, or at least starting to book meetings. So
yes.
it's a combination of internal work to make sure that people internally are aligned around it. I hate the word aligned. That they like it, that they want to talk about this. It's not alignment. It's that they have to be excited about it. It's not just another thing that I have to say about my company. It's, oh, this is really cool. I have three customers in mind or three prospects in mind that I
Yes.
want to take this to.
Yeah.
And then on the customer side, oh, people have been asking me for this. I am ready to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the kind of thing that you want internally,
Yeah, you want some
because that,
energy around it. That's right. I also really
yes,
like your idea stepping back a little bit of what you said just a bit ago. I really like the idea of having metrics associated with a launch because otherwise, why are we
yeah,
doing it, right? So,
yeah,
I mean, I would be looking at metrics like, is this launch going to help us increase deal velocity? Is it going to shorten sales
yeah,
cycles? Is it going to convert more status quo, do nothing, no decisions into actually moving forward in a sales pipeline? Is it going to increase our average deal size? Is it going to
yeah,
retain more customers, right? These are some of the
yeah,
big metrics you really want this
yeah.
to achieve. So,
Yeah, and even before, those are all great metrics, and I absolutely would use all of those. I would look at, what is the business situation, and then I would use one of those metrics also. So, if you're going into a new market, how far, what's your reach in that market? Even though
yeah.
reach is kind of a squishy one, you want to make sure that people are actually knowing your name, like they're recognizing your name, they know who you are. You are making that first entree into a new market, so
Yeah.
people need to know that you're now a player. um, but
Yes.
other metrics like more wins, more competitive wins, deal velocity, those things are really important because you've got top of the funnel. Top of the funnel is kind of fun because people are like, oh, look, attention. And then as you go down the funnel, you're like, oh, now the shit's really hitting the fan, right? You've got to make sure that you go from this is interesting to I want to buy this.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, the middle of the funnel is the messy part. And that is where you should be focusing your metrics. I don't really like to look at the top of the funnel as much. My metric is how many deals have I closed on this, or how much have we increased our ACV. And it's always good when your sellers are doing well. I mean, you want your sellers to do well because that means your company is doing well.
Yeah, no, this is all such good stuff. I hope those listening are taking good notes. I would say you kind of made a quick reference to this earlier in the conversation too, is when you're launching something, if you're launching, whether it's a new product
Hmm.
or a new feature set for an existing product, many companies have multi-product portfolios. So
Hmm.
that becomes part of a larger story of your company overall. You made reference
Yeah.
to that about, brand is here, then the message, the product level messaging comes below that. But like that overall positioning story, you said like the story has to build on itself and it all has to
Hmm.
connect too. So
Hmm.
how often are you revisiting that larger story? If you're in a company that has a bigger portfolio and you're
Hmm.
doing, there's a launch happening over here, there's a feature update happening over here, how often do you have to have a rethink on that, do you think? Does it
That is a great
depend,
question.
right?
Yeah, I'm going to say it depends, but it depends on things like what is your position in the market?
Hmm.
Who are your competitors and how competitive is the market? I
Uh,
think all of those things are going to weigh heavily on how often you have to reposition. Now, if you're a, Series B through D kind of company, you have more flexibility on revisiting your message quite often, I think, because you're still building out the story of your brand
yeah,
as you are growing. If you're a more mature company, it's more difficult to change your messaging quite often because that could cause confusion, right? Well, I thought you were this, and now you're saying you're this. So
yeah.
you don't want to do that. So I think it depends again, who are you in the market?
Mhm.
And where are you sitting in the market, and then what do you want to accomplish? So those are some things to consider. But if it, where I am now, our company is just we're an amalgamation of 5 companies now, so we're really looking at product market fit. So it's a perfect opportunity for us to test. Testing means you might be looking at your message every quarter, twice a year, depending on, how long what your portfolio is going to look like, what your portfolio is going to be,
Yeah.
and then, matching the message to go along with that. And the way that I'm thinking about it is you can be a little more general in the beginning because you can always focus. But I think it's harder if you're focusing, like if you take a really hard stance on one thing and then you try to bring it high level, people are like, wait, I got lost. I was
Yeah.
with you on that one thing, but now I don't understand what you're saying. So it's a fine balance.
Yeah,
And
no,
sometimes it just goes wrong.
that's really great. You're right. You don't want any kind of positioning change or bigger positioning story to be too jarring either to the people that are
Hmm.
all familiar to you. You don't want to, to a total huge pivot. You had talked about how also the how competitive the market is,
Hmm.
that being a factor. So I think that segues into like the final question I had for you, which is a little bit of a, more lively question. Competitors are launching too. So when a competitor launches something, do you react? What do you think?
Um, I personally don't.
Mm.
And this is difficult for a lot of executive teams because they're like, well, it's our competitor did something, we have to respond. And if I look at the landscape today, you have a lot of competitors. You no longer have one competitor, 2 competitors, 5 competitors. You have 500 competitors. You have 1,000. You don't even know how many competitors you have I mean, if we're really being honest, it's software is so easy to build now.
Yes.
Uh, the barrier is so low with
Yeah. And
AI.
everyone's vibe coding now. So, right.
Everyone can code. So, I mean, that's great, but it means that you have to be disciplined and you have to hold the line, right?
Mhm.
To see what happens. Because is it a launch or is it just kind of a snappy ad that they put out there?
Right.
Um,
How
it,
real is it? This happens a
how
lot.
real
I
is
just went
it?
through this with
Yeah,
another company where we're like, well, wait a minute. When you get down into the fine print, they're like, they're still in design partner phase. They haven't even launched yet. They're saying they're beta
that's right.
in 6 months, and you're panicking about this. So,
That's right. That's right. So, having the discipline to wait, what I would do is I would start thinking about writing objection handling That's your first line of defense. And then you hold that until you hear your sales reps start saying something.
Mm,
If your sales reps are saying, I'm hearing, so and so in come up in deals. Okay, well,
yeah,
how often is that? Once a day, once
right,
an hour?
right,
What's the frequency? Then you understand how to respond or how real something is so that
right,
you need to have a response.
right.
On the other hand, I would also double down on the value of our product and our messaging instead of having a direct hit or a direct response to a competitor launch. Now, you can say, I mean, if I were a sales rep or as I'm doing enablement, I would, have a question. Um, if something sounds like a competitor, put FUD in or asked their prospect to say, well, you should ask them about this.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
The first thing I would say is, oh, where did you hear that? Right? Don't give up all, don't give up everything, but where did you hear that?
Mm,
Let your customer or your prospect tell you where they heard that, and then you know how to address it.
that's great.
Uh,
Oh gosh.
because you may not have to do it at all. It could be that customer or that prospect was just had a thought in their head and it had nothing to do with the launch.
Yeah.
But why would you introduce a problem or a competitor if you didn't need to?
Yeah. So said differently, just kind of, take a beat,
Yeah,
take a breath, gather
yeah,
data, gather information, try to find out if this is an actual pattern that's going to stick around or
yeah.
whether this is just noise that's not really meaningful.
That's right. And I think, to your point, I'm also a big data nerd. I like to see what's happening. I like to look at, sales funnels. I like to look at how many customers tickets we have and what they're saying and product adoption. I love all that. That's
Yeah.
great. But at the end of the day, you have to feel good about, the product that you are putting into the market, the message behind it, and how you are helping your customers succeed or, win the day. And if that is, I think if you keep that at the forefront, the competitors just kind of, you can keep them at arm's length if you are really well versed in what the product does and how you can communicate value.
Oh, so good. I love it. It's a great way to look at it, Maureen. Thank you. I really appreciate
Yeah,
your time today. We could talk a lot about
absolutely.
this, I'm sure, but we'll wrap it up there. And I just want to say happy launch day to everybody who's launching on whatever day that may
Absolutely.
be.
That's right.
All
Thank
right.
you so much. I really appreciate
You're
having
welcome.
having me on.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.